There was once a man who had one wish in life, and that was he wanted to meet Elijah the prophet. And he begged his master, the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, to help him accomplish his dream. It was a few days before Pesach, before Passover, and the Baal Shem Tov said to his disciple, "Do you still want to meet Elijah the prophet?" And he said, "Yes, Rebbe, of course I want to meet him." Well, he said, "This is what I want you to do. I want you to get 2 large boxes. I want you to fill one with enough food to feed a large group of people. And in the other box, I want you to fill it with children's clothing. I then want you to travel to Minsk. And on the outskirts of Minsk, there's a dilapidated house. And then 10 minutes before candle lighting time on the eve of Passover, I want you to knock on the door, and I want you to ask if you could spend the Pesach festival with them." The disciple was somewhat taken aback by this instruction, but he followed it to a T, and there he is 10 minutes before candle lighting time by this dilapidated house on the outskirts of Minsk, and he knocks on the door, and the woman of the house opens the door and she says, "Yes, can I help you?" And he says, "Is it possible if I could spend the first days of Pesach with you?" To which she responds, "I wish I could, but I have no food even for myself and my children." And the disciple said, "There's nothing to worry about. I happen to have a large amount of food, and not only that, I've got clothing for your children." And he spends the next 2 days together with the family. At the conclusion of the 2 days, he does not see Elijah the prophet, and he goes back to the Baal Shem Tov, and he informs the Baal Shem Tov that he did exactly as his master had told him, but he did not meet Elijah the prophet. And the Baal Shem Tov said, "Did you follow my instructions?" And he said, "Of course I did." Baal Shem Tov thought for a moment. He said, "Well, if that's the case, you need to go back for the 2nd days of the Yom Tov of Pesach. This time, however, I want you to go right up to the door, and I want you to listen just before the festival comes in. And after you've listened at the door, I then want you to knock on it." The student does as he's told. He travels once again to Minsk. He's standing outside the door. He puts his ear to the door, listening to what's happening inside before he will actually knock on the door. And then he hears the conversation between the mother and the children. The children are crying to the mother, saying, "We are hungry, we have nothing to eat, we need food." And the mother says, "My children, don't you remember before Pesach? You were also crying and you said you had no clothes and you had no food." And I said, "Don't worry. Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, will come knocking on our door, and he will bring us food and he will bring us clothing. And as Elijah the prophet came at the first days of Pesach, so I promise you, my children, Elijah the prophet will come once again." And at that moment, the disciple knocked on the door. The Talmud says that there are 3 qualities that are, in a sense, the DNA of the Jewish people. One of those qualities is the quality of chesed, of kindness. The centrality of kindness is found at the very birth of our people. In this week's portion, Parshat Chayei Sarah, we are told that Abraham seeks a wife for his son Isaac. This will be the first Jewish wedding. What qualities did Abraham seek befitting the future mother of the Jewish people? The verse states, when Abraham's servant saw how enthusiastic Rebekah was in feeding his camels, he knew that she was fit to be Isaac's wife and the mother of the Jewish people. It is through acts of kindness that we, the Jewish people, have been defined since the beginning of time. You and I, if we only wish, we can be Elijah the prophet. Thank you.